Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I was sitting out in front of the barn the other day, just kind of thinking and contemplating, and I realized I was homeschooled in many, many ways. I remember vividly that my mother taught me religion when she said, "You better pray that stain comes out of the carpet, young man." And I remember my father taught me all about time travel. "If you don't straighten up, I'm going to knock you into the middle of next week." Yep, I was homeschooled. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. I want a patriot. I want a patriot to call with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Oh, and thank you very much. Much better day today. I hope it stays that way. Good morning. I'm Zeb Bell. Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. You bet. Great people. And, of course, some of our great advertisers, including Western Way Services, always at your disposal, 734-6969. Without further ado, let's go to the phone line and our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb.
How are you today?
I am doing wonderful.
All right. Would you give us the pledge, please?
Be glad to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have to ask, I don't recall your voice. Have you done this before?
Nope.
Well, God bless you and a wonderful job. Now, don't make yourself a stranger. You come back and do it again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a nice lady. Great voice on the air, too. Thank you very, very much. Oh, we got a whole bunch of things to talk about today. I got every segment this morning except one has a doctor. And Wheels and I were talking about it. The doctor is definitely in this morning. So we got 3 doctors on the program this morning. By the way, it's time for the weather, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Oh, my goodness sakes. They've got all kinds of great tips for you to kind of do a little bit of remodeling and fix them up in your house, etc. And don't forget, the slip covers often get a bad rap, but they are truly wonderful things. They can serve as a means of changing your furniture's look to reflect the seasons, and easily removed, too. Hey, check it out today along with all the home decor tips at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, 678-6945. Here's Gina with the weather.
It's Wednesday, so that means we're halfway through the work week, and this is what weather is going to be for today. A little bit breezy, but honestly, not too shabby. Cloudy skies, high of 58, tonight low of 39. Tomorrow, partly cloudy skies. Winds are picking up just a skosh, looking at a high of 64 with an overnight low of 40. For Friday, mostly sunny skies, winds out of the southwest, right around 20 miles an hour, high of 63 with an overnight low of 40. Then for Saturday, afternoon rain showers, windy and 60. Yesterday's high was 55. The overnight low was 38. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
I'll tell you what, Cheney Flooring and Home Design, carpet and flooring and kitchen construction, whatever you need to make your house a home. All you have to do is go down there today, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door, Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Wow, those are good folks. Okay, we've got a bunch of things going on here today. Number one, this is Administrative Professionals Day. I don't know why, really, with all this political correctness, I'm not going to call it that. I'm just going to call it what it used to be known as Secretary's Day. Okay, if that offends somebody, so be it. I want to say this first and foremost. I am extremely thankful, and I mean that, to the good Lord above for Goober, my lovely wife. And I did give her some flowers last week at lunch bunch. I don't know if it's called a vase of flowers or a vase of flowers. And this business, Shoot 2 Promotions, which is the main entity over Zeb at the ranch, none of it would be here right now without her help. Thank you very much. So say the same to your secretary or administrative professional today. And candy, cards, flowers, everything is always appreciated. There you go. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Also want to remind you that Roger Morley is running for re-election for District 3 Jerome County Commissioner. He has served as County Commissioner in Jerome for 2 terms, and he wants to continue serving you. He has been an Idaho State lobbyist and also a Jerome County Planning and Zoning Commissioner. He wants your vote on May 17th because he knows what is really going to help Jerome County. Paid for by Morley for Commissioner, Lorraine Morley Treasurer. And don't forget to put May 17th on your calendar of Go Vote. I don't want to hear all about these, I had a hangnail, or oh my goodness, I broke the heel off my shoe, I can't go. Don't give me that. May 17th is primary election day, and on behalf of Senator Kelly Anthon, Representative Fred Wood, and Speaker of the House Scott Bedke, go vote. And don't forget to take your picture ID along with you, too. And be proud of who you are when you go to the polls on May 17th. Paid for by Senator Kelly Anthon, Representative Fred Wood, and House Speaker Scott Bedke. I am getting all kinds of calls coming in here while I'm on the air on my cell phone and everything else. The ducks were quacking. I got this duck call on my phone, and sometimes I have forgot to turn it off when I go into meetings and especially church on Sunday morning. You cannot even imagine the embarrassment as you are playing fumble fingers trying to get that phone shut up when all of a sudden you hear a whack, 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 quack. It's embarrassing. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got to get this in. I want to stay on the good side of Elaine Stevenson. She's a dear, dear friend. The Minidoka County Republicans meet the candidate night is next week on May 5th, Thursday, at the Wilson Theater. The meet and greet starts at 6 p.m. and the forum starts at 7. Don't forget that next week on Thursday. There you go, Elaine. Good morning to you. Denny's Restaurant. You know, I am in the mood this morning. I had my customary little bowl of bran flakes and some peaches this morning at 4 a.m. You know, I got to tell you, folksies, Denny's Restaurant this morning sounds so good for a delicious breakfast. Oh, my goodness, look at that menu. Oh, my goodness, it's hard to make a decision. Oh, my goodness, the service is fantastic. Oh, my goodness, you're going to love it at America's Diner. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley and 291 Pole Line in Twin Falls. Breakfast, lunch, supper, anytime, all the time. Denny's Restaurant. Home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. You stop in and see them today. Want to also remind you about our dear friends Ramsey Heating and Electric. Hello, Ramsey's. Great folks over there. All your heating and cooling and electrical needs right there. 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. And if you want to call ahead, they'll have your order waiting for you at 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric. They serve you. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What are you going to do, Republicans? What are you going to do, GOP? Donald Trump is on a roll. He won all 5 eastern states that had a primary yesterday. Easily. Won them all by almost 60% of the vote in each state. Kasich finished way back, a distant second. And Cruz... Someone saddled his horse for the race, but they forgot to have it show up at the starting gate. He was way back, number 3. And now they move on to Indiana, and we'll see what happens there. Caller, good morning, good morning, good morning.
Ain't it a beautiful day God give us?
Every day that we have is a beautiful day that is given to us as we extend our life one more day, thanks to the good Lord above. And it's always a pleasure to have you brighten my day with your phone calls.
Well, I appreciate it, sir.
Good morning.
Every day with your talk and your stance and the way you speak out for everything.
Well, I appreciate that, Doug. What in the world can I do for you?
Well, the establishment, I think, is running pretty scared. Because the people are starting to speak up. And have you noticed that every time they go never Trump, stop Trump, how more votes he gets?
Well, yeah, and I'll give you a case in point. And I know that you are very adept at watching and learning and following this stuff. One guy in particular that has really cooled his statements of anti-Trump is Karl Rove. Karl Rove, with his little white chalkboard, has really backed off on his anti-Trump rhetoric. Months ago, he used to be kind of this guy can't win, all this loudmouth, this lout, this everything else. Have you noticed that lately Karl Rove has really softened his response to Donald Trump?
Yeah, and I take what Karl Rove says with a grain of salt. He's so far establishment that he'd rather have Hillary to keep status quo as to get someone in there that will govern as the people want rather than govern as they want.
And Doug, I got to ask you this because I've mentioned it weeks ago on my program. You're an avid listener. You know I said this. I said that all of a sudden, if they disenfranchise the millions and millions of voters that have voted for Trump at the convention in Cleveland, you're going to see an uproar. I said it before Limbaugh. I said it before anybody else right here on this program, and I can prove it on the tapes. And you know something? I think the GOP is realizing, oops, maybe we better tone it down a little bit.
Yeah, and you think the straw that broke the camel's back was the last 2 elections where we give them the House and then more seats in the House and give them the Senate because they said they was going to go back there and do something and they've done nothing?
Well, the best scenario that can happen, and I know there's going to be staunch Republicans listening that are just wrinkling their nose and really pounding their fist on the table or whatever this morning. But you know what? You better realize if the man has the votes, and I said it yesterday, I'll say it again, Doug, I never, ever came out and said that I was a Trump supporter. But you know what? He's got the lead. And it looks like this morning, Doug, that he may have a path to get that 1237 delegate vote count. And a lot of people don't want to admit it, but I'll tell you what, the proof is going to be in the pudding after Indiana next week.
That's very, very true. And they're scared for their jobs.
Yeah, I agree.
They've been back there thinking that they govern us when they work for us.
Yeah.
They're our employee.
The establishment, I think, and I'm going to be very blunt here. Caller number 2, don't go away. I'll be right there. The establishment, Doug, needed a good, swift kick in the fanny, and Trump's campaign has given them that.
Exactly. So they better listen to the American people if they want to keep their job back there.
I agree.
All politicians better listen to the American people. And I'll be real quick, too. Even on the Democrat side, you can see where Bernie, and he has got a lot of support.
Yep.
Which means the Democrats are upset with what's going on back there.
Absolutely. Doug, always good to hear from you. Thank you.
You too.
All right.
Bye.
Caller number 2, I'm going to be there just momentarily. Stand by. Don't go away. You know I'm busier than Dickens here with all my commercials, so bear with me. Cutting Edge Curbing, 424 16th Street in Rupert. Number to call to help beauty and value be added to your property. 808-3360. Oh, my goodness, this curbing is fantastic. It comes in different edges, and it comes in different stamping and different colors. I've seen it, and it is beautiful. Call Sarah or Mike Baxter. Get an estimate today. It is beautiful. Cutting Edge Curbing, 424 16th Street in Rupert, 808-3360. Really, really nice. Also, real quick, I want to remind you about Minnecasia Sales bringing you Dr. History on Tuesdays. My goodness sakes, Zach and the whole crew, they do such a fantastic job over there at Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley. Good morning, Zach. All your lumber packages, all your roofing, all your windows. Just stop in and visit with these folks. Nice, nice people. Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley. Caller, you are a very patient person. Thank you very much.
I know that. All you have to do, Zeb, is to see what Hillary Clinton has to offer compared to Donald Trump. One big issue that she has is women's rights. Well, the rights of every human being in the United States of America being threatened by a bunch of terrorists from the Middle East. What is she going to do about that? How is she going to handle somebody like Putin or the communists up there in China and North Korea? She'll fold up like a balloon that somebody stuck a pin in.
You know, if she is running for the presidency, basically as just playing the gender card of I'm a woman, I can help women, to me, that boat's not going to float. And also, if they really go on her record as Secretary of State, that boat has already sunk. She did a lousy job and really has nothing to show for her tenure as Secretary of State. So, anybody with common sense can see she really doesn't have a platform to stand on.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And what's going to happen when Bernie drops out and she's up there alone? Is the FBI going to come in and put her behind bars where she belongs?
One can only hope. One can only hope, Tony. I'm telling you, I would love to see her in an orange pantsuit that has numbers over the lapel.
Right, put her in with the general population.
Thank you, Tony. God bless you, man. Have a good day.
Okay.
Thank you. No, I don't like Hillary, and I don't care who knows it. I just absolutely think this woman is not only past her time, but she never really had a time. And as far as this, I heard some women the other day in the store saying, well, I just don't know about this political election season. Well, why is that? Well, I just think Hillary absolutely hands down should be president. And the other lady said, well, why? Well, because she's a woman. Because she's a woman? That's a qualifying point to have her be president of the free world? Are you giving me a break here? Come on. Ladies, you're smarter than that. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I want you to know I kind of disagree with Tony. I think Hillary did a terrible job as Secretary of State. She gave away our secrets. She told many lies. She never did a thing that was good that I could see. She was just a horrible Secretary of State. And she didn't do anything as a senator, really, that accomplished anything that was any good. So I just don't know where you come from when you said she did stuff.
Well, the thing is, she was involved in a lot of things. We'll say that. She was involved in the mess in Benghazi. She was involved with a big, very treacherous and dangerous email, lack of security. So I'll say involved in a lot of things, none of which ever really painted a good picture about Hillary Clinton.
Well, and you know, her stance on women, I don't know where she's coming. She thinks she's supporting them. I think she's probably the worst supporter for women that has ever been. She just, I don't know, nothing about her rings true to me. I think she'd make a horrible president.
Well, I tell you what, Jerry, the proof will be in the pudding, but I hope we're never served that particular bowl of pudding. By the way, I wish you well. I hope you heal up and feel better. And it made me grimace and made me ache watching you try to get out of that car yesterday, but you take care of yourself.
Well, I'm doing fine. It just, I fell down and hurt my shoulder. And I can't flip around good right now.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you.
Leg, I have to be careful how I get it out because I don't know whether it's under me, sideways, upside down, inside out.
Well, you
have to be super careful, and I go slow, and I go easy, and I make it.
There you go, Jerry.
I keep making it.
All right, buddy. Hey, God.
Have a wonderful day, and may the Lord bless you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Jerry Voss, very, very good friend of mine, and I ran into him and his lovely wife yesterday, and it's good to see him. Thank you very much. Oh, I got to pay some bills here real quick, and then we'll take some more calls. I got a lot more stories to tell you, too. I got to tell you about a faux pas that Ted Cruz committed. And really, the media picked up on this, but members of the media aren't much smarter about this particular faux pas than was Ted Cruz. So stand by. Don't forget, Minidoka County area. Can I start that all over again? Let's back the tape up. Minidoka County Sheriff Eric Snar is running for re-election, and he wants your vote on May 17th. A working sheriff out in the field doing any job necessary to serve you and make the community safer. He appreciates your vote, and he has staged a winning war on drugs, and believe me, his promise is to do the best every day for you. Remember, re-elect Minidoka County Sheriff Eric Snar on May 17th, paid for by the re-elect Eric Snar for Minidoka County Sheriff Jason Gibbons, Secretary. Also remind you, let's see, I got to turn my page over here. What is next on my program? Oh, I got to turn it back over this way. I see. Okay, I got it all organized now. Tim Darrington is running for Cassia County Commissioner, District 3. A lifelong resident of Cassia County, is a farmer and rancher and steward of the land. And he wants to protect our natural resources, our land, air, and water. And he wants to provide good roads, safe environment, and good quality of life for the residents of Cassia County. Don't forget, he wants to work for you and have what's best for the citizens and the growth of Cassia County for generations ahead. Vote for Tim Darrington, Cassia County Commissioner, District 3, paid for by Darrington for Commissioner, Gail Erickson, Treasurer. And do I have another call waiting over there? I better check with Wheels. I forgot. Do I have one waiting?
Right now. So.
Oh, well then, while you're getting them on the line, I'll tell everybody, too, about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Are they good? You better believe it. Can they help you feel better? You'd better believe it. Can they help you get back to being you? Yes, they are the best. Nick Greenwell, all the physical therapists right there with the sports medicine and the exercises and the hydrotherapy pool. You get a hold of them today. Make an appointment at 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. They are good. Caller, thank you. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
You know, Hillary, compared to General Petraeus, really bugs me, because this man just had a conversation with his girlfriend or something, I guess, and maybe released some information, but not damning information. But look at what they've done to him. They've taken his retirement and a whole bunch of things to punish him, and Hillary walks the streets.
Well, you've got to realize, Keith, and you're a little bit older than I am, but in your years, you've seen this. It's not what you do, it's who you are.
And who you know.
That's exactly right. General David Petraeus was absolutely slam dunked when it came to his situation. I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but They tried to make a martyr out of him in some respects and absolutely make a rat out of him on the other side. And Hillary has done more, but oh my goodness, she's still running for the presidency of the United States of America.
Well, why can't they progress with their charges, supposedly?
You know, here you are asking me, why can't they? You know what? We all, as Americans, should be asking the people in charge. We should be asking the senators. We should be asking the investigative crew that's looking into this, the FBI. We should be demanding answers of them as to why not. Don't ask me, because I'm as stumped as you are as to why she isn't wearing an orange jumpsuit.
And we see this all the time, a miscarriage of justice.
Absolutely.
And it says justice for all in the Constitution.
Yeah, but they should have had a clause on there today that says...
We're just somewhere out there in the nowhere that money talks and the rest of it just walks.
Yeah, when you started that phrase, you scared me to death there for a minute, Cottam.
Well, we all know what it is.
Okay. Hey, God bless you for your call. Thank you.
Yeah, incidentally, the pledge was done by my wife.
Was that Nancy?
Yes, it was.
Well, you go give her...
a beautiful voice on the radio.
Yes, go give her a big hug and tell her it's from me.
Yeah, and when we were in business 30 years ago, the radio station tried to get her to come to work doing commercials for them.
Well, that was
She just didn't want to do it.
That was an excellent rendition of our pledge this morning. Thank you, Keith. I got to run. Thank you very much.
You bet.
All right, thank you. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. As usual, Zeb's got to play catch-up. Don't forget about Barry Equipment and Rental. All the equipment you need. They have the equipment you need to get the job done right. And if you're not sure how to run it, they got a big playground out behind. Take it out there and learn. They'll teach you. Oh, my goodness, 3 locations. South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. At that Burley location, great big area out behind to learn how to run the Doosan loaders or the Bobcat equipment or the Coyote tractors. I'm telling you, they serve you with the equipment needed. And right now, Coyote tractors, 0% interest for 60 months. You can't beat that deal. Stop in Jerome, Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Barry Equipment and Rental. I say it every day, and it's very, very true, that if you're having hearing problems, I would heartily suggest you get a hold of Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids for a hearing screening. Now, somebody said to me, I can't think who it was here about a week ago. I think it was at Lunch Bunch. And they said something about, did you really have a hearing screening? I said, yes, I did. I needed one. And they said, well, does it hurt? I said, no, it's fun. Really, it is kind of fun. Stop over or give a call to 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room and Dr. Christine Pickup. Wonderful lady serving you with your hearing. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 312-0957. And by the way, don't forget on Mondays we give away a half dozen cinnamon rolls from Sophie's Chatterbox. What a bakery, what a restaurant. You folks over in Rupert are so blessed to have it right there in your backyard. 530 East Street on the square in Rupert. It is delicious. Sophie's Chatterbox serving you. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Did you hear what happened to Ted Cruz last night? Yeah, he kind of stepped on his toes, his own toes. Well, I'll set the stage for you a little bit. He was having a press gathering, and he held the press gathering for Indiana. His big campaign push in Indiana, trying to get all the delegate votes. Well, he held this press campaign launch in Indiana at the Real Hoosiers Movie Gym at Hickory, Indiana. Remember that movie, Hoosiers? One of my all-time favorite movies. I have seen it probably no less than 973 times, and I still get the goosebumps when they won the state championship. The little school knocks off the big boys. It was great, okay? And they had the He was in the real Hoosiers gym last night. Uh-oh. Well, this is where the trouble started. He tried to imitate a scene in the movie where they measured the basketball hoop from the floor to the edge of the rim, and Cruz came out and called it a basketball ring. Not good. Sports aficionados picked up on that. I listened to it and I thought, oh, Teddy boy, you have stepped in it. You don't call it a ring. Well, many people in the media picked up on that with a little tape excerpt about what he didn't know he wasn't talking about. He didn't understand, and he kind of stepped in it. Well, this morning, I want to play fair here. The Fox News report during the 5 to 6 hour this morning had Clayton Morris on the air, and he had made a clip of the faux pas that had been committed, and this one with Ted Cruz calling it a ring instead of a hoop. And Clayton Morris said that they were in the Hickory Stadium. It's not a stadium, it's a gym. The original Hickory Gymnasium probably held only about maybe 350 to 500 people, maybe if they were really scrunched in there. It's not a stadium, it's not a football stadium. It's a gym, for heaven's sakes. So the media had to get on the anti-Ted Cruz for calling it a ring instead of a hoop. Maybe they should have backed off a little bit and looked at themselves, because they made mistakes also. There are slips when you're doing it off the cuff, live, ad lib, anywhere. I make a ton of them. Does that make me less than anybody else? No. Does it make Ted Cruz less than anybody else? No. It happens. So let's cut a little slack here, okay? There you go. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let's see, what have I got to tell you about right now? I also want to remind you about our dear friends, oh my goodness, yes, with Penetron by Maisie. Oh, that is an amazing product. Absolutely is going to help your crops. It speeds germination, reduces crusting, improves stand, stimulates root growth and microbial activity, and it helps use less water, which is another money saving for you for the greatest crops you've ever grown. I'll tell you what, Penetron treated crops have better roots, and you can increase your crop's performance with a proven soil conditioner, Penetron by Maisie. Get the original, not the cheap imitations. Contact your crop advisor today, right now today, to get Penetron soil conditioner by Maisie. It is good. I want to also remind you that the re-election campaign is going hot and heavy right now for Jay Heward to be re-elected for Cassia County Sheriff. Born and raised in Burley, went to school at Burley High School and Idaho State University. He has been in police work for over 36 years, and he has a knowledge of the job through experience and hard work. I'll tell you that. And he knows what to do. And he supports permitless carry and offers concealed weapons classes too. Jay knows his job and his constitutional responsibilities as Cassia County Sheriff. And he wants your vote to be reelected on May 17th. And this is paid for by the Re-elect Jay Heward Cassia County Sheriff Committee, Steve Westfall, Treasurer. There you go. Now it's your turn. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, you want to hear something really comforting? Are you planning a trip? Are you going to get on the airlines and maybe go to, see Aunt Martha in Nebraska, or maybe you're headed to Florida, maybe you're headed overseas? Well, now the FAA has issued a notice that there are too many drunk pilots flying commercial airlines. What? Yeah, it's true. The study has found at least One pilot per month is caught absolutely schnockered in the cockpit of the jet airliners. Holy smokes. Now, I used to fly a lot. I mean, I was flying every week, someplace. And I don't miss it at all. I mean, I'm telling you what, folks, since I kind of 99% retired from that occupation of traveling all over the United States and Canada, and for that matter, many parts around the world, I don't miss it. I don't miss the hassle of the TSA by any means. I don't miss the hassle of running through airports. I don't miss the hassle of missed flights. But now knowing that now they're coming to find out a lot of these pilots are absolutely drunker than skunks, that's very disconcerting. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
I'm with you. I don't fly nearly as much as I used to, but it really isn't fun. You know, and it's the government's got their nose in everything, but that's one case where it seems like I can't believe are these, pilots screened at all before they, get into the airline. Apparently, there's that screening process must not be. But, Jeb, there's one subject that hasn't been hardly discussed at all recently, and that's these trade agreements, the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Yep.
It's unbelievable that 5,554 pages, that's over 11 reams of paper, nobody's read the thing, and yet, the farm groups are all in favor of it, unfortunately. But they haven't read it either.
Nope.
And I can guarantee you, when you read the fine print, we'll get screwed again, just like we have on every one of these other agreements that have come down the road. And people need to be contacting our senators and representatives. And
well, wait a minute. Whoa. Wait a minute. Stop for a second, Adrian. You made a point, and I want to follow up on it. The problem I see with that TPP, that Trans-Pacific Trade Agreement, and I've looked at it, I've read as much as I can about it, is that maybe there are certain aspects of the trade agreement that are good for certain groups or certain entities. And right away they stand up and they say, oh, this is wonderful. But what they don't see and what they don't understand is what it's going to do in the long run for control of America and control American jobs. The United Nations has their hand on a lot of the switches here, and they can turn the power off and turn the power on, and there's so many demands that could hurt American jobs and occupations. I'm against it.
Well, and one of the things you mentioned about jobs, it basically opens unlimited, if we think the borders are open now, this agreement just makes it wide open.
Absolutely.
As if it isn't already. But there's going to be an awful lot more workers coming in here to compete with Americans, and of course, that's part of the deal. They'll work cheaper, and the big corporations, of course, are all for it, and that's what really galls me, is that who's going to buy their stuff when they destroy the American economy? That's what really gets me.
I agree with you.
See the reasoning and why they do that. It's just like the big corporations come out against North Carolina because they didn't want to, interfere with whoever to go in whatever bathroom. That galls me too. In fact, I called one of those corporations and really ripped them because of the person on the line, and I said, this is ridiculous. This is America. But 24 out of the 29 chapters, Zeb, have to do with economic and political merger. It has nothing to do with trade.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Trade merger bill, and do we really want to merge with these other countries? All it does is lower our standard of living, makes us a third world country, even more than we have become in just recent years. We're still the shining light on the hill, but somebody's trying to put a bushel over it and turn the light out.
I want to see trade agreements that are us in charge, us in favor, us. United States. That's why I use us. I am sick and tired of trying to rebuild some of the country. I am sick and tired of trying to rebuild someone else's economy at our expense, and that's what this amounts to. Adrian, I got to get a weather in here. Thank you very much. Points well taken. I appreciate it.
One more quick point. This new climate agreement, we're sending billions of dollars to tin pot dictators, and of course, it raises our power bills while we're, having to pay more for less.
I agree with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I've looked at that Trans-Pacific Partnership, that TPP. Trade agreements, I think, always should be negotiated. Always should be negotiated with us first. We got to think about the ramifications and the problems or the benefits for us first. I don't see it in this agreement. Got to get the weather in here. Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service, 336 South, 450 West of Paul. Number 2 call, Scott Gano and his crew, 431-8733. I've said before, and I'll say it again, old Scott, if you're listening, that guy knows trees. I mean, there's nobody that knows trees. On Arbor Day, that guy should be saluted and carried through the city. He knows trees, and so does his crew. And they also know sprinkler systems, how to fix them and how to put them in. Give them a call, 438-8733. Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. Here's Gina with the weather.
It's Wednesday, so that means we're halfway through the work week, and this is what weather is going to be for today. A little bit breezy, but honestly, not too shabby. Cloudy skies, high of 58, tonight low of 39. Tomorrow, partly cloudy skies. Winds are picking up just a skosh, looking at a high of 64 with an overnight low of 40. For Friday, mostly sunny skies, winds out of the southwest, right around 20 miles an hour, high of 63 with an overnight low of 40. Then for Saturday, afternoon rain showers, windy and 60. Yesterday's high was 55. The overnight low was 38. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Okay, thank you, Jane. She does a fantabulous job. Way to go. Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service bringing you the weather at 336 South, 450 West of Paul, 431-8733. Caller, I'll be right there. Hang tough for a moment. Ramsey Heating and Electric is offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459. Along with Lennox, they can save you money. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, Ed, there's one issue that I don't hear much about. Where is the EPA about dumping all this nuclear waste in Idaho here? Don't we have a cancer ridge in here in Idaho? Don't we have enough cancer going on? We're going to be dumping more of this stuff in Idaho?
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because tomorrow, United States Senator Mike Crapo is scheduled to be on the program. Tomorrow's going to be a zoo trying to get everything in, Tony. He's going to be on at about this time tomorrow, and I'm going to be asking him about the dumping here in the state. So I'm putting a note down right now. Thank you.
Well, good. We got to get it done, because I know how it was when Mary had her breast removed just a few years back, and boy, it was a traumatic experience for her. And if we're going to have more stuff brought in here that's going to bring more cancer to American people or Idaho people, it's got to be a stop put to it.
I appreciate your calls, Tony. You're always thinking. I mean, I got a mind's eye picture of you sitting in a great big chair over there at your home with your knees cross-legged, kind of like a guru, and coming up with all these great thoughts. Thank you.
Okay, Zeb. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. God bless. Woo! Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. At the end of the first hour every day on this program, especially during political season, I feel like I've run about a 5K race. I mean, trying to get everything in. Don't forget, hats off to Simplicity Women's Seminar and Expo coming up and going to be held tomorrow. Okay, I'll quit. Best Western, Burley Inn. Don't forget, lunch served at 11:30 to 1:30, and they're going to have all kinds of vendors and great displays. Super speakers. My goodness, this is going to be good. Sponsored by the Minnecashi Chamber of Commerce and many other groups, and just absolutely going to be a fantabulous gathering tomorrow at the Burley Best Western Inn. All right, calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got to tell you this story. I got to share this with you real quick. This makes no sense to me whatsoever. Here we go. Picture this in your mind's eye. You're at home. You're sleeping. It's late at night. And all of a sudden you hear something in the house. Oh my, it's a burglar. Well, it happened to this old boy. He heard the noise. A burglar was in his home and also the connecting garage to his home. And he gets out of bed, and the burglar tries to run away, and the guy shoots him in the arm. But now the homeowner is up on charges, and they're saying that the homeowner is reckless, but here's not the end of the story. The burglar is turning around now and suing the homeowner for shooting him in the arm and destroying his work ability. What? Yeah, the burglar is going to sue. It's going to court. And he is suing this guy, saying that he's taken away his livelihood and, oh my goodness, the healing process and everything. The guy's a crook. He's a burglar. And the homeowner is up on reckless attitude and shooting this guy in the arm, and the burglar's telling the court that he has to have complete restitution and a huge fine and penalty from the homeowner because he got shot while he was trying to steal the homeowner's property. Doesn't this just make you scratch your head? Doesn't this just make you say, what? This is nuts. In days of old, not that long ago, nothing would have come of this except that the proposed burglar probably still would be behind bars for being the burglar. But now in today's insane court system, they're turning the charges around, and the homeowner, protecting all he's worked for all of his life, his goods and his family, is up on charges and may have to pay for the burglar's medical expenses and a huge fine. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't even know what to say. I mean, we've lost our mind in this country. Believe me, I've said it before on my show, and I'll say it again. If it offends somebody, I don't care. You come onto my property, you may very well meet my two friends, Mr. Smith and Mr. Wesson. And I think that's the way it should be. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This is just absolutely insanity what's going on. I want to remind you about our dear friends, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Wow, what a busy place. I was over at Randy's Overland location yesterday, and I just sat there and I watched people come through the door, and man, they're getting this taken care of, and they're getting new tires, or they're getting the front end alignment, or they're getting their brakes fixed, or they're getting a new battery. Oh my goodness! Busy. All 7 locations are like that. All 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with super nice people. I'll give you a for instance. Lane over in Rupert, good old boy. Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, know him well, super guy. Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul. They don't get any better than that family. Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland and Burley. Yes, they care. Yes, they give you the greatest of service at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in, check out all the tires for safe driving, very convenient credit available at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Okay, your turn. Give me a call real quick, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What do we got coming up? Interesting programming for the rest of the morning. I've got Dr. Michael Brown coming up. Well, first of all, Dave Bigo at 9:06. Dave, a good old boy, businessman extraordinaire back in Indianapolis, Indiana. We're going to talk to him about the upcoming Indiana primary and what he thinks about the Trump and the Cruzes and the Kasich and everything else. And then at 9:30, Dr. Michael Brown is going to be on here from the Stream, has written an absolutely wonderful piece, and I can't wait to talk to you about it, talking about Target and how they have crossed the line with families in America. We're going to talk about that coming up. And then at 10:06, Dr. Gerard Lamero is going to explain all about the delegates. And then at 10:30, Dr. John Zamirik talking about the left in this country and their campaign of terror against you and me. Very interesting. Appreciate all your phone calls, as we always do every day right here on this program. And again, a reminder, tomorrow morning we've got limited time. Senator Mike Crapo calling in at about 8:45. I don't have time for outside questions, but be sure and tune in. I'm going to try to ask him really rapid-fire questions tomorrow morning. Right now, we have This Good Word, followed by CBS News. Wheels, take it away. Oh my, here we go. Hour number 2. Zeb at the Ranch on a Wednesday, April 27th already. Good morning, good morning. I got a lot of things to take care of before we get our guest on here, Mr. Dave Bigo, a dear friend of ours, in just a few moments. Zeb at the Ranch brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, including Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always Georgia's soul. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at Georgia's soul.
Hey, be sure and call if you need storage and you've got some things you absolutely want to take care of on your property. Ask about the Go Mini storage containers. These are fantastic, and Western Waste Services has all of them ready for you. They are always at your disposal. Call and check on the route service at 734-6969. Locally owned and operated. They are the best. Western Waste Services, serving you. Want to remind you, too, every day we sign on the program, we have our weather forecast at 8:06, sponsored by Cheney Flooring and Home Design. All your carpet, flooring, kitchen construction, home decor items, whatever you need to make your house a home, remember Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Absolutely the best. We're in the middle of primary season right now, and I want to remind you, too, that Scott Yates is running for the position of Cassia County Sheriff, and he would like your vote on May 17th. As a Cassia County Sheriff, Scott Yates will be serving and representing all the residents of Cassia County, and he believes that less crimes, less people in jail equals a more productive community, and he believes that we have an exceptional community in Cassia County. So remember, on May 17th, vote for Scott Yates for Cassia County Sheriff, paid for by Yates for Cassia County Sheriff, Julie Jaime, Treasurer. Also, real quick, one other note for you, and I'd like to remind everyone that Shirley Halford Hubbard is running for Cassia County Commissioner, District 3. Born and raised in Oakley, moved to Burley, and she just absolutely wants to get involved to help everybody in Cassia County have a better lifestyle and hopefully more jobs coming into the area. And she also wants to address the younger generation and get them more active in the leadership of Cassia County. Don't forget, when you go to the polls on May 17th, if you want fair and equal representation for all of Cassia County, vote for Shirley Halford Hubbard for District 3 Cassia County Commissioner, paid for by the Halford Hubbard for County Commissioner Committee, Lois Reinhardt, Treasurer. And with all of that, now we send our phones back to Indianapolis, Indiana, and the one, the only, Mr. Dave Bigo. Good morning.
Well, thank you for the nice introduction, Zeb. I appreciate that.
Well, I was just absolutely hurrying, man. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. And, by the way, David, my friend, do you know what day this is, and have you acted appropriately?
I think you got me stumped.
Well, let me just say that if you're stumped, if I were you, I would walk very cautiously out into the foyer where perhaps your secretary is sitting, because today is National Administrative Professionals Day. It used to be called Secretary's Day, and you're in trouble.
I thought you meant something else. No, we take care of all of our administrative assistants and assistants and other people throughout the office. They got a big basket of goodies this morning.
Boy, you really covered yourself up in a hurry. I like that. That was a good response. Okay.
I've been getting emails all morning from them thanking us for the basket of goodies. In fact, I'll be honest with you, I'd like to go out and get into that basket of goodies. They got all kinds of chocolate and other nice stuff in there.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I got my wife a week ago, a great big bouquet of flowers as a thank you, because the reason I gave it to her a week ago is so that I wouldn't forget today.
Well, thankfully I have people around me, including my wife, that remembers that stuff, and it'd been in the planning for a long time and ordered and that. And like I said, these baskets are nice, and they got some flowers in them too, so they're all very happy today.
All right, Dave, let's get serious here, because I want you to comment on what we saw yesterday in the Big Five Eastern states, all of them. It was a landslide in favor of Donald Trump. And like I said, almost by 60% of the voters in every state. Kasich found a way to win second, but he was way, way back of Trump, in some cases less than half. And as far as Ted Cruz was concerned, I said this first hour, somebody saddled his horse for the race, but it never made it to the starting gate. What were your thoughts about yesterday's primaries?
Well, I think it's an indication of what basic Americans are looking for, to be honest with you, Zeb. They're tired of politics as it's been, and they're looking for something different and somebody that's going to do things that protects this country and brings jobs back, and as Trump says, makes America great again. And I think the basic American voter is tired of all the political nonsense and the lifelong politicians that want to live in Washington.
Now, let's kind of elaborate on this a little bit. The delegate count is such, and I've been sitting in my office kind of adding totals up, looking ahead to Indiana, your home state, and then on to Montana and California and Oregon and other states. Honestly, there is a more than good chance that Trump will have that 1237 in delegate vote count prior to Cleveland in the summer. What are your thoughts about that vote count for Trump to be the number one man going into the convention?
Well, I think there's a good chance, and I was even surprised last night. I was watching Fox, and even they were talking about they now believe that he's got more than a 50% chance, and so I think there's a really good chance. I think we're going to find out a lot here in the next 6 days in Indiana where this is going to go, and based on conversations I've had with businessmen around the state, they're tired of the politics too, and the long-time political people that have been in Washington, and they want to see something different. And I was even talking to a guy down in southern Indiana that's a member of the Tea Party who was supporting Cruz, and he understood my viewpoint. He says, Dave, I'm hearing that from businessmen all over southern Indiana here.
Really? So are you making a prognostication that it's going to be in the state of Indiana a landfall business or vote for Donald Trump over Ted Cruz?
Well, I don't know if it's going to be a landfall. The polls of course, you never know. I'm not a big believer in polls, but, Fox has had him at an 8-point lead or so, and a couple of others had him, Trump, at a 5 or 6 point lead. I tend to think it's going to be greater than that. Now, I don't think he's going to be in the 60% range, but I think he's going to be in the 50s somewhere.
You know, Dave, as you look at this political situation right now, and people like Karl Rove and many, many others, months and months ago, were absolutely taking a shovel, and they were digging a hole ready to roll Trump's body into that grave and bury him because they just didn't like him. But their rhetoric has softened over the last couple of months. And I listened to Karl Rove last night, and he wasn't as demeaning to Trump as he has been in the past. Are they starting to realize that, hey, this campaign is for real, and this candidate had better be taken seriously?
Well, I think they are, and they're backpedaling. And I saw Karl on Fox last night, and he's one of the ones that now believes Trump has more than a 50% chance of getting the delegates he needs, and so I thought it was interesting. And I've met Karl Rove a couple of times. I know him, and he tends to be that way. He'll go his path until he sees it going a different direction, then he'll start retuning it.
The other candidates, Kasich and Cruz, and I really want your insight on this, but all through the last couple of weeks, they have been talking to the media and saying, like Kasich, well, Trump, if he's the number one nominee, it's a 0% chance against Hillary Clinton. Why, she's going to wipe up the floor with him. And Cruz doing the same thing. You know, all they're doing, I think, maybe they're not smart enough to figure this out, but they're just absolutely giving more credence to Hillary. Why don't they just keep their mouth shut and run their own campaign?
Oh, because, you know, they have, especially here in Indiana, I'm sure you've heard about the pact that Cruz and Kasich have here, where Kasich is basically bowing out and asking his supporters to vote for Cruz, and in, you know, exchange for that, Cruz is going to give him Washington and Oregon, I believe, and I don't see that. You know, it's like Trump says, it's collusion against him, and I think they're trying to do everything they can, and I think they're using the wrong tactics. They're using the same tactics that the liberals do and the union bosses do. You know, they try to attack people and misrepresent what's going on out there. The truth is, when it comes down to it, I think it's the other way around. If it's Trump versus Hillary, I think he'll wipe the floor up with her.
We have a caller with a question, and Dave, right after you respond to this caller, I've got a small spot break to take care of, so go ahead, caller, quickly, you're on the air.
Yeah, Dave, you know, in the afternoons I'll hear Mark Levin or Glenn Beck just tearing Trump to ribbons, and I see that's fine, and then, you know, you Ted Cruz and Kasich and then they're tearing each other up, you know, Trump and Cruz and Kasich. And I say, in the end, you know, we've got to beat the witch if she's the one that ends up being there. And I say, you know, can you tell me, and I'm not saying this directly to you, so to speak, but anybody, tell me that Trump is worse than Hillary. We've got to win the election. And when I hear people just tearing Trump apart, I say, well, right now, he's the one that's got the best chance. When are we going to come together and actually maybe win the election? I'll hang up.
Good question, good response. Dave, what would you say to him?
Well, I think, you know, as I mentioned in my blog last week, I think the Republican Party is they have one direction they want to go in, and they want to stay with politicians, and you know, they're adverse to somebody that can come in and like Trump, that's a businessman, and I think that's why you know, somebody that's tough and can get things done, and I think that you know, they want to be more involved in controlling what happens. They don't like losing control. And I just think that's wrong. I think the American people need to speak their voice, and the Republican Party needs to listen. And I think, quite honestly, Hillary will have a hard time with a guy like Trump, because he will expose her. I mean, if you've seen her when she's been put on the spot on a few things, she starts mumbling. And he's going to put her on the spot so much. And he's getting better at doing it professionally. I think he's finally listening to people, and he's waking up to that fact. And if he can do it that way and get her mumbling and stumbling around, I think he not only beat her, it could be a wide margin.
I agree with you. Dave, please stay by the phone for a second. I'll be right with you. Don't forget, ladies, hats off to Simplicity Women's Seminar and Expo going on tomorrow at the Best Western Burley Inn. Lunch will be served at 11:30. They're going to start the whole thing at 9:30 in the morning. You don't want to miss all the booth displays, all the great speakers. It is going to be a phenomenal event. Tomorrow, hats off to Simplicity Women's Seminar and Expo at the Best Western Burley Inn, sponsored in part by the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce. Also want to say thank you very much to our dear friend Joel Heward, manager of Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. That fine staff and family always serving you in a time of need. There is nothing more critical than the time right after there's a passing of a loved one. You need help. You need to get everything done. They can help and they will help, always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. Please give them a call today at 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Dave, I got to ask you this. Actually, it's kind of a comment, and I want to get your opinion on this. I think the media, the news media, has always been very critical of anybody on the right, anybody that's a member of the GOP, and they let things happen as far as faux pas are concerned on the left with Hillary and Bernie and that type of thing. But Ted Cruz did not do himself any favors in your state last night when he was in the old Hickory Gym, the site of the movie Hoosiers, and he referred to the basketball hoop as a basketball ring. The news media is running wild with this thing. What are your comments?
Well, the news media, they do what they do, Zeb, and, they're pushing their agenda, and it would have been nice if Trump was a little more in line with Hoosier basketball.
Well, wait a minute. It wasn't Trump. It was Cruz, Dave. It was Ted Cruz.
I'm sorry. Well, I didn't see that, so I'm glad to see him, exposing him a little bit. But again, it's the same thing. The media, they go the way that they're leaning. And the other thing, and I saw this in an article this morning by a gentleman, that a lot of the media have trouble with Trump because they find him very direct and not as polished, and they have a hard time handling that versus Cruz and some of the others. But I think Cruz can be just as unpolished at times, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. And what was really funny about it, maybe you have been in the Hickory Gym, but it's easy for the media to criticize, like Fox News' Clayton Morris did this morning against Ted Cruz for saying basketball ring instead of a hoop. But he, at the same time, Clayton Morris, referred to the Hickory Stadium instead of gym. Believe me, I have seen the inside of Hickory's gym. It is not a stadium.
It is not a stadium. You're going back a lot of years, and it was nowhere close to it. And it's the media is what the media is, and it's unfortunate. One of the things that I will tell you about the media that I'm concerned about, though, if Trump does win, and it could happen with Cruz too. But I'm afraid that they'll bow to pressure behind the scenes from the liberals and the big labor bosses, who will be putting a huge push on to make sure that no Republican gets elected, because especially the union bosses, they want the White House retained, and they want to get the Senate and the House back, because they want a path to increase union membership across the country.
So in your very expert eyes, because you've been commingled with a lot of these people that we're talking about, you've seen what dastardly deeds the unions can do, just how bad, honestly, will possibly the convention in Cleveland be? I mean, kind of give us a little scenario. If things go to the worst point, what could happen?
No, I think it could get ugly there, and I think that you will have protesters out there. I think you'll see the unions get people out there like Black Lives Matters and all those type of people protesting that Trump will not take care of the country. He'll divide it, and he doesn't care for minorities and people of different religion and stuff like that. And of course, you're going to have the Trump supporters. So I think it could get ugly there. I really do. And here's the thing that I'm concerned about is that behind the scenes is that some of the Republicans and other people, they also get intimidated by these groups. And if it goes to a convention type thing like that where they have to decide and vote, they'll back down and to the intimidation factors. And I talk about this in my book, Zeb. I had a lot of business people that I talked to during the time I was fighting the SEIU, and after I wrote my first book, and I talked about it. A guy I had a breakfast with, a businessman that owns a pretty large manufacturing company here in Indiana. And he says, Dave, I agree with you on all this stuff. He says, I just couldn't stand or stomach or have the backbone to stand up to these people and have the exposure in the press and have these people coming after me all the time. And it's easier just to do what they want me to do.
Dave, simply put, give me an answer on this last point for this morning. Has evil in our culture succeeded and there's no hope, or do you think we can defeat it and turn this thing around?
I think we can defeat it, and the time is now to do it. And I'm hoping Americans wake up, and I think they are, Zeb, because even a lot of union members across the country who, have been big, the union's been big Democratic supporters, but the union members themselves are looking at people like Trump.
Mrs. Bell says hello. Mr. Bell says goodbye. Have a great day, and we'll look forward to next Wednesday right after the Indiana primary.
Sounds great. I was glad to be able to ring your bells today.
Oh, that's good. Thank you, David. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
All right, take care. Dave Vigo back in Indianapolis, Indiana. A really great businessman, has a huge company back in that area and across many parts of the United States, and has written quite a few books. The Devil at My Doorstep, The Devil at Our Doorstep, has a weekly blog. Just a very, very informed individual. Dave Vigo, thank you very much. Woo! Got to pay some bills. Here we go. Okay, who's up next? Mother's Day is looming around the corner. My goodness sakes. And the Drift Inn over at 545 F Street in Rupert is going to have specials on Mother's Day. You can call and make reservations right now at 436-1300. That number again, 436-1300. Oh, my goodness. Special hours on Mother's Day, 11 to 3. And prime rib and finger steaks and butterfly shrimp, grilled salmon, chicken cordon bleu, all kinds of great things on the menu at the Drift Inn in Rupert for Mother's Day. Also, you need a gift for Mom. Yes, you do. And the Book Plaza at 222 West 11th Street in Burley has everything. They've got all the books Mom might want, and they've got all the precious moments and all the other figurines, music, and cards. Get a special card for Mom. One-stop shopping at the Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. Wishing you and your moms a very happy Mother's Day. Don't forget, Mother's Day is right around the corner. By the way, too, Kelly Anthon, Idaho State Senator, running for re-election. This is a good man. As a state senator, Kelly is a very strong voice for agriculture and has a proven record of success in economic development. And he believes in the right to speak freely, bear arms, and practice religion must be defended. Kelly has a unique ability to represent the entire Mini-Cassia area. Don't forget, he wants to have your vote on May 17th. Vote to re-elect Kelly Anthon State Senator, paid for by the Re-elect Kelly Anthon Committee, Elaine Stevenson, Treasurer. There you go. In a few minutes, we are going to have, oh, and by the way, let me get this note in. Speaking of Elaine, the Minidoka County Republican Meet the Candidate Night will be next Thursday, May 5th at the Wilson Theater. A meet and greet starts at 6 p.m. and the forum starts at 7 p.m. Thank you, Elaine, for the note. I'll keep plugging it for you. There you are. Really nice people, Bert and Elaine Stevenson. I want to remind you, too, that, boy, you got to get outside and have some fun. Now, Deanna and I, we did as I told you we were. We were going to take our four-wheelers over to Let's Ride to have them serviced and ready to go. They are serviced, and they're ready to go. So are we. We've already taken a couple of rides. Well, you'd better get over there and check out all the ATVs at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Oh, my goodness, where the fun is sold. And they've got Suzuki's at 0% financing right now. And all the watercraft for this next summer. You know, I talked about the service department, and they are the best around. And how do I know? Because they've worked on our ATVs, they can take care of yours, too. Please give them a call. And great accessory department, too. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Yes, sirree, Bob. That's where the fun is sold. And if you're over in that area, and you will be if you go there, stop over or give a call first for an appointment to make sure that you are on point with the best of all your insurance protection, whether it's your life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. You call the professionals. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Number to call for an appointment, write this down, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. They are accessible and devoted to serving you. Cameron and Siemens Insurance in Rupert. Really good people. Talking about good people, right now we're going to go to the phone line, and I've been excited to have this man on the program this morning to talk about this next subject. We say good morning to Dr. Michael Brown, writing for The Stream. Good morning, Michael. How are you?
Great, man. Good to talk with you.
Well, it's my honor to have you on the program, and I know it was kind of at the last minute. We had to make some changes. We got you on the show. Boy, you have written a story about a subject that I've been talking about on my program for a long, long time. And I'm just going to be blunt, Dr. Brown. I absolutely think that the gay, lesbian, and transgender alliance in this country is destroying our culture. It's what they want, and the heck with the rest of us. And Target seems to be falling in lockstep with them. Go ahead and give us a little background on your story.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, it's been about 11 years now that I've become burdened about the direction of gay activism, which now includes the T word, the transgender word, front and center. And I've said for over a decade, those who came out of the closet want to put us in the closet. I've said that gay activism has become the principal threat to freedom of religion, speech, and conscience in America. And what's unfolding now is not a surprise. I wrote a book in 2011 called The Queer Thing Happened to America, written with compassion towards those who struggle, reaching out to the people with compassion, but resisting the agenda with courage. And in that I said, look at the direction this is going. Look at where this is going. You have nursery schools where the teachers cannot refer to the children as boys and girls, because that's making a gender distinction. You have people who call themselves gender outlaws, and the guy may live as a guy in the day and as a woman at night, and then people want to break gender boundaries, and they declare war on the gender binary of male and female distinctions. People don't realize we're not just dealing with someone who's troubled like Bruce Jenner, who believes he's Caitlyn, or something like that, or a little boy who at 4 years old believes he's a girl and cries himself to sleep. And, we have compassion for people like that. We're not just dealing with that. We're dealing with an all-out war on gender. So last year, Target decides they don't want any more gender stereotyping in their stores. And while you need to have, like, sizes, okay, here's, large women's dresses and small women's dresses, it serves no purpose to have boys' toys and girls' toys. So Target got rid of that distinction last year. It doesn't matter that the vast majority of boys want to play with G.I. Joes, and the vast majority of girls want to play with Princess Bride dolls. No, you got to get rid of blue and pink and distinctions between gender, because that's gender stereotyping. And they said, we're going to remove this wherever else we can throughout the store. So now they've taken the logical next step and removed it from the place where it matters most, the bathrooms and the dressing rooms, where people go to do what they do in private. and where people are most vulnerable because they go in private. And where the dad might tell his 9-year-old daughter, okay, just you can run, I can see you go into the girls' room right over here, and now some guy can come walking in after her, and the father's powerless to do anything, and if he complains to Target, they'd say, well, that man has every right to be in there because he identifies as a woman. So it's a time of cultural madness. We've been down this path for a while, celebrating Bruce Jenner as Woman of the Year last year, further pushed us down this path. But now it's gotten to a point where it's gotten national attention, and people are finally starting to wake up. You've been talking about this for years. I've been warning about it for years. Now people are starting to wake up.
Dr. Brown, that was an excellent summation of your article that was written in the stream, and I have said on this program, and I'm not going to back down, that we are being forced to accept abnormal and family-destructive behavior from the LGBT. Our voices don't count. We're called the hate mongers and the bigots by less than 1% of the population, and the media and politics is on their side. This is a complete flip-flop of what normal should be. Go ahead and elaborate on that, would you please?
Yes, sir, you are right. Think of this. Since we have records, so going back to 2010, just a handful of people, a few thousand people, have changed their name from male to female or vice versa. Maybe 70,000 out of 300 million. There are over 1 million legally blind people in America. There are over 1 million legally deaf people in America. And you have 70,000 so far who've taken advantage of laws to change their names from male to female, vice versa. You're talking about a tiny, tiny, tiny part of the population. And we now want to turn the whole world upside down for them. It would be like having a blind child in school, one kid out of 1,000, and now all the students have to close their eyes and use Braille. No, that's not how you do it. You try to accommodate the child with a handicap and let everyone else live normal lives. Target on their Facebook page suggested that if people have a problem with their new policy, they can use the handicap room. No, if someone is struggling, it's the transgender identified person. Let them use the handicap room and let everybody else who has no problem with male and female use the bathrooms as is normal and the fitting rooms as is normal. There's a school in San Francisco, an elementary school. They've pulled out all normal bathrooms and identification of boys and girls rooms, and all bathrooms are now gender neutral. It is the law in California, AB 1266, in all schools, junior high and high school. If a boy identifies as a girl, he can play on the girls' sports teams, and he can share the girls' locker room and shower stalls. Again, cultural insanity. And where does the media stand? For the most part, celebrating this insanity. Big business has been celebrating this insanity. Somehow, the gay activists have really pushed their cause well. People have embraced this as the new civil rights movement, and instead, we are plunging into social anarchy. And it's not just this. We are now being told that whatever you perceive is reality. So it's not only transgender, it's transracial. You have people like Rachel Dolezal, a white woman who perceives herself to be black.
Oh, my goodness.
Was functioning as a civil rights black reader. She now says her only regret was that she didn't come out as black earlier. There are people that are called otherkin or therian who identify as part animal or exclusively animal. There was a story recently about a woman in Norway who identifies as a cat in a human body. Do we need to put out litter baskets for people like that, litter boxes for people like that in our bathrooms? No, what we need to do is try to find out why these people are struggling and confused and have these disorders and help them from the inside out rather than turning society upside down.
Dr. Brown, I guess the simplified question would be, have we gone so far with this cultural insanity that we're over the edge? Our boot heels have dropped over the edge and we've fallen into the Grand Canyon, an abyss that we can never get back and restore right is right and wrong is wrong. Where are we?
We're close to that. I believe that there is a point, though, where society cannot function normally with the insanity. In other words, we may hit a wall and pay the penalty. We may have a societal collapse, but you can't maintain a normal society and keep doing this. At a certain point, you hit a wall. And by God's grace, there can be a point of return. There can be a rebuilding. But I'm looking at the boycott call to Target, and it's approaching 1 million signatures in a little over a week. And family after family going into Target or calling saying, we can't give you our business anymore. There's still consciousness. The grassroots still recognizes the madness of these things. Senator Ted Cruz said last week, has the whole world gone stark raving mad? And there's still plenty of people say, no, we haven't gone mad. But we're at the point, it's like a man who had a serious heart attack, and if he doesn't adjust his diet and his lifestyle, he could die. That's where we're at as a nation. And we must wake up. My website, AskDrBrown.org, I've got a daily radio show as well, and write these articles like for the stream on a regular basis. Put out videos constantly. What I'm trying to do is wake people up, wake people up, wake people up. And I know the people I speak to every day across the nation, they've said enough is enough. Little by little, people are waking up, but it's in that precarious situation. The window to wake up before everybody drinks the Kool-Aid is getting smaller and smaller and more narrow.
Yeah, and if you're going to point the finger at anyone at fault, Dr. Brown, wouldn't you agree with me that the finger has to turn around and point at you, point at me, and point at every other God-fearing family member, because we've let this problem fester and grow like a cancer. We didn't put our foot down and say enough is enough. Would you agree with that?
100%. I've said it for years. My greatest concern in America is not so much the presence of darkness, but the absence of light. It's compromised preaching from the pulpit. It's pastors and leaders refusing to speak up because they didn't want the controversy. It's individual believers not wanting to be heard in the workplace, not wanting to be heard in social media because you don't want the flack, you don't want to be ostracized. It's people with a misplaced sense of compassion who have accommodated people rather than help them. If we, those who are God-fearing people, had stood up more loudly and clearly with love towards all, but saying right is right, wrong is wrong, marriage is the union of a man and a woman, Bruce Jenner is not a woman, Rachel Dolezal is not black. If we had spoken up loudly and clearly years ago and refused to be intimidated, refused to be moved, we absolutely would not be facing this. Moreover, if we had been stronger in our own marriages and had not welcomed no-fault heterosexual divorce in the church, none of this would be happening.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question, and go ahead for Dr. Brown quickly, please.
Yes, Dr. Brown. I get the feeling that people think that somehow Christ is going to come back and bail us out, and it doesn't matter because they're just waiting for that to occur. And I say, well, how do you think that? How do you figure that? Free will is free will. And I guess the big question, the $1 million question is, when does divine intervention take over from free will? And I guess it depends. But, you see, we will be held responsible for inactivity, willful ignorance. And the other day I was at church, and I said to my brother, and I said, gentlemen, I propose to you that we are responsible and we have to go out and make a difference, or we will lose this battle. And they just look at you like, well, I don't want to do it. Christ is going to come back, or you're going to do it, or something. I'll hang out.
Dr. Brown, with the
came to faith in 1971, right after the tumultuous 60s, and we were told Jesus is coming at any moment. Jerusalem's back in Jewish hands. All the signs of the times are here. Culture's collapsing. Jesus is coming any moment. That was almost 45 years ago. We must be responsible. If we do not do what's right today, we're going to have to apologize to our kids and grandkids. Dietrich Bonhoeffer said the ultimate test of a moral society is the kind of world that it leaves to its children. That's the big question. What kind of world are we leaving to our children? How are we functioning today as salt and light in the midst of a confused and a depraved generation? And when Jesus comes, he comes wonderful. I'm praying for it. I'm longing for it. Right now we have a job to do. Let's do it.
Dr. Brown, one final thought here this morning, and the timing was perfect that I have you on the program this morning, because yesterday in USA Today, in the sports page, they ran a complete story of colleges and universities being forced and coerced into accepting LGBT, and if they don't, they might lose their respective sports conference availability. What are your thoughts on this? And we'll have the callers stay on the line for a moment. Give me your responses to how universities are being coerced to accept this abnormality.
What these universities need to do across the nation is say, no. If we're a men's school, we don't have women. If we're a women's school, we don't have men. If someone identifies as transgender and violates our rules and our codes, no. What they need to do is face down the bullies. If they face down the bullies will back down. It's that simple.
A caller, go ahead with your question for Dr. Brown, please.
Yes, Dr. Brown, welcome to the program. Do you feel that mass meetings at places like fairgrounds would be a fair assessment to get enough votes where people can get together in gangs? Because you get nothing done trying to do it on your own.
It's a good point, Dr. Brown.
What we need to do is number one, where we have an opportunity, say with Target, send a message to Target. This is a great way, in a unified way, everyone acting individually, to send a message to a company and say, look, don't do this. This is a mistake. We can't give you our business in good conscience. Then other businesses will also see, because businesses want to make money. That's their bottom line. They want to make money and be successful. That's one way we can do it. Another way is we need to get educated. We need to educate the churches in terms of what the issues are, how to deal with people with compassion while resisting the activist agenda with courage. And then say in a state like North Carolina, where I currently live, where the government's under tremendous pressure because of the Bathroom Privacy Act that they passed. We had a rally early this week. Over 4,000 people came to the state capitol to support the mayor, to support the governor, and to support the legislators. And a few dozen came to oppose. That, if you're a politician, you see that. You say, okay, I notice that. And then when the time to vote in November, find out where candidates stand on important moral and cultural issues and vote for the candidates that share our values and send a message to them. And then if the church can come together, pray for those who are struggling, who identify as LGBT, pray that God will help them find repentance and wholeness, and then make a stand together, pastors and leaders uniting with one arm. We will not bow down to the agenda. That will be very effective.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
All right. Well, Dr. Brown, I just think that we are in a culture war that absolutely has to be won for what is correct and what is right for our American lifestyle and our culture. And I certainly appreciate you writing the story for the stream, and I'm going to ask you to please come back in the not-too-distant future, if you would, please, sir.
With joy. Let's do it.
All right, sir. Dr. Michael Brown, excellent story about our culture and how it's going right down the tubes. And Target, I'm going to come right out and say it, that I absolutely will not shop at Target again. And there are those in the audience that are going to say, oh, my, you can't say that. Yes, I can say that. I'm going to stand up for what is right, and what I believe is wrong, I'm going to denounce. And I think they're catering to a less than 1% of our population that is abnormal and, quite frankly, very insidious against family values. I'm going to stand up and say no. And I denounce Target for what they have done. We've got to get a weather forecast in here, and the weather is brought to you by our friends at Lennox Home Comfort Systems, along with our great friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. And they have, of course, all the Lennox Home Comfort Systems that will help make your family enjoy the comfort. Give them a call, 678-0459. Ramsey and Lennox, saving you money. Here's Gina with the weather.
It's Wednesday, so that means we're halfway through the work week, and this is what weather is going to be for today. A little bit breezy, but honestly, not too shabby. Cloudy skies, high of 58, tonight low of 39. Tomorrow, partly cloudy skies. Winds are picking up just a skosh, looking at a high of 64 with an overnight low of 40. For Friday, mostly sunny skies, winds out of the southwest, right around 20 miles an hour. High of 63 with an overnight low of 40. Then for Saturday, afternoon rain showers, windy and 60. Yesterday's high was 55. The overnight low was 38. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to you by Lennox Home Comfort Systems and Ramsey Heating and Electric, offering rebates on those systems. Check it out today. Call them at 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. Absolutely. You know, I want to make this point, and Dr. Brown, I thank him so much for taking the time to come on my program this morning. But yesterday in the sports section of USA Today, and I went through this, it was a 2-page story, and the thuggery and the arm twisting that's going on with the LGBT against common sense and families and morality is absolutely disgusting. There are those, like a gentleman, and I use the term loosely, Sid Ziegler, that has said that the NCAA should not tolerate any member schools that have anti-LGBT policies. So it's basically, you either accept their filth and their perverseness, or, if you don't, they're going to go after that university and take away their membership in impossible football conference, basketball conference, etc. This is where we're at today. And where are we? We're sitting on the sidelines, twiddling our thumbs and not fighting back. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Oh, yeah, I want to go back to before your guest where you were talking about... I believe you said Crapo's coming in.
No, wait a minute. I'm on a subject here this morning for this half hour. If you want to respond to what Dr. Brown said just a moment ago, your comments and remarks will be very welcome. I just really am not going to shift gears here all of a sudden until I want to, and right now I don't want to. I'm very upset about what's going on in our culture. It's being the demeaning part of our culture. What are your comments on that? We're going to stay on track, on point this morning.
Well, I drove by Target a couple days ago. Thanks.
I didn't hear your remark, but that's all right. I think he said he drove by Target a couple days ago. Good, he didn't stop in. I just absolutely think that we've passed over this. We've glossed over this subject. Pastors and church leaders have not touched it, or they've glossed over it. Why? Why is there cowardice to stand up for what is right and what is family values? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Just as concerning Target, I quit shopping there, and of course this now just makes it even more so. A few years back, when they refused to let the Salvation Army be in front of their store, and I can remember back in high school, and this is back in the early 40s, that we did have some gay and lesbian students, but there was nothing pressuring us to be letting them have special privileges. We knew they were existing, but they didn't bother us, and we didn't bother them, and everybody got along fine. But this is so, so out of control. I'm just fearful for my great-grandchildren that are now in school, and that something like this can happen in Idaho, God forbid.
Well, listen to this, though, and I really appreciate your friendship and your call on this issue. But let's just go back to what I said a couple of weeks ago. Here's a dad. Okay, they're traveling, and the young daughter says, Daddy, I got to use the restroom, and he pulls off, and there's a public restroom, and he's waiting outside, and all of a sudden the door opens, and here comes a great big 6'2" guy with a beard wearing a dress and everything else. My goodness, your thoughts are going to be for the safety of your daughter and the absolute fracturing of anything that she holds as being responsible and civilized. What are you going to do in that case? This is going to happen, and somebody is going to get hurt.
She hung up, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wish you would have stayed on the line. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Quickly, go ahead.
Zeb, as a younger generation, I'm 35. I can watched and seen and listened to you over the years, and from my parents and grandparents and other people, just how much this country has denigrated itself with the division of lesbian, gender identity problems, racial problems, and I was told or taught that, all that kind of stuff went on in the 60s with the the racial violence and everything. And then it seemed as soon as Obama was president, anything that showed the difference from anybody, there had to be a problem with it. There had to be a fight fought. There had to be a crisis involved. And it's sad to say and sad to see our nation being divided one from another, a brother from his brother, a neighbor from a neighbor, for I don't know what reason, but it is terrible and heartbreaking.
Well, sure, it's terrible and heartbreaking, Riley, but there's a right and a wrong to everything, a yin and a yang to everything. And if we're going to keep dissolving what is right and what's spiritual and what's morally straight for families, what good is having a society?
I agree with you. I've stopped doing business with Target, too, for the same reasons your last caller did. I won't go there. And there's several other businesses I won't deal with because of my own beliefs, political and religious beliefs. But anyway, I'll let you go.
All right, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You got to stand up, folks. I mean, my goodness, are we going to let culture, our culture, just absolutely be fragmented and literally thrown in the toilet? When are we going to stand up and say enough is enough? When? I do it on this program to the best of my ability. I'll take the heat, but I want somebody standing with me and behind me. Don't forget, Cliff Katona is running for Twin Falls County Sheriff. He's a Republican candidate that wants your vote on May 17th. 28 years of distinguished law enforcement for the state of Idaho. He was an Idaho State policeman for 19 years, and he wants to be your sheriff and help the sheriff's department grow with Magic Valley. And he wants to be visible in the community and address people's concerns. And he, again, wants to listen to what you have to say. Cliff Katona for Twin Falls County Sheriff. Vote for Katona Committee, Jim Woolley, Chairman. And I tell you, we go on and on about this. Coming up next hour, we're going to have Dr. Gerard Lamero, a very good friend of this program, and we're going to be talking about the confusion going on with the delegates and the different delegate titles as to what they are, what they represent, how they're going to vote, and everything else. There's all kinds of delegates, unpledged delegates, and super delegates, and all this kind of stuff. He's going to kind of lay it out for us and explain it to us. That's coming up next hour at 10:06. And then we're going to talk about the left in this country, which refers back to this story that we just had, and how the left is campaigning a terror activity against all of us that are family members and Christians. We're going to talk about that at 10:30. Right now, this good word, and then the CBS News. I'll be back in about 6 or 7 minutes. Oh, I love that guitar music. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And don't forget, too, some of our great advertisers, like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service, 734-6969. Before we go to our guest, I want to remind you Mother's Day is right around the corner, and the Goodie Shop at 133 West Main in Burley says, hey, how about treat Mom to a goodie basket? Oh, you can build your own. Tell them what you want in there. You know, the candy kisses and the brownies and the cookies and all kinds of goodies. Oh, or make a special Mother's Day mug. Oh, it's delicious, and she will love it. The Goodie Shop, 133 West Main in Burley, 647-0106. Along with Magic Valley Irrigation at 44 East, 500 South of Burley. And the number to call, 678-3101. Jeff and the rest of the crew at Magic Valley Irrigation says, Happy Mother's Day. And don't forget, anything you need for your irrigation system, if they can help in any way, give them a call at 678-3101, Magic Valley Irrigation. Right now, let's have this good word for Roy Prescott, and we'll be right back.
Me, Roy Prescott, brings integrity, honesty, hard work, accountability as a community servant and leader. Roy Prescott, the Jerome County Commissioner. Responsible leadership for a better Jerome County.
Thank you very much. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to the phone lines. I absolutely appreciate and respect this man. His latest book, Great News for America. The Constitution, freedom, and prosperity are coming back. I hope they do. And we say good morning to Dr. Gerard Lamero. Sir, good morning to you.
Hi, Zeb. It's great to be back with you.
Well, I read your book, and I got to tell you that it was very informative. I enjoy having you come on the program, but right now this morning, Doctor, I got to admit, I talk politics every day, 24/7, 365 on this program, and I am so confused about the different delegate status going on in the primaries. Would you please help me? I'm totally confused.
Well, of course, there are the delegates that duly elected or selected for supporting various candidates, but then there's all these other kind of like a little bit hidden in the shadows type delegates. We have unpledged delegates, and these are people who are going to the convention saying they are not pledged to anybody. And there's about 81 of those, and we can go into more detail after I kind of give you the overview. Then there's orphan delegates. These are people like the four delegates for Jeb Bush. You know, Jeb Bush had $110 million or so donated to his super PACs or his campaign, costing each one of those four delegates cost somebody about $26 million.
Oh, my.
But they're orphans because Jeb Bush is not a candidate anymore. Then we have the pledge to be uncommitted delegates. That's kind of an interesting one. They are pledged to stay uncommitted. And so you have the unpledged, who we don't know who they're voting for, but then we have the pledged, who happen to be pledged to uncommitted, saying they're going to stay uncommitted.
I got to be honest with you, Doctor. You've been on this...
Fun enough, we have the non-aligned delegates, and these are people... I'll give you an example. State of Arizona. They have officially 58 delegates. Trump won that state. 3 of the 58 are the sort of the big shots in the party in Arizona, the state chairman, the national committee man, and national committee woman. But the other 55, you know, they're all Trump as far as who got elected in the primary there. But Trump forgot to go to the conventions and do his homework, and Cruz, who's pretty smart with following the rules, he got his people out, and 53 of those delegates are actually Cruz supporters who are non-aligned with the state results. In other words, they vote for Trump on the first ballot, but if there's a second, third, and fourth ballot, they're probably going to vote for Cruz.
I got to be honest with you, and you've been such a good friend of this program, but if you were to hand me, if I was in a classroom and you were the professor right now, and you were to hand me a test about delegates, I would just hand it back to you and say, thanks for the opportunity to be in your class, adios. I still am totally confused.
Well, I'll tell you, it's kind of funny. I'll give you just a little example to kind of make your audience laugh, because I think this is funny. There is one state, and I won't name the state because I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but there's one state, and I read the rule, the Republican rule in that state, over and over and over again to figure out if this delegate was truly unpledged or if he had to be pledged to the person who won that state. And I read the rules over and over and over again. I could not decide how to read the rule. It was so ambiguous. So you know what I did? I called up the delegate. I called him up, a member of the Republican National Committee, and I said, well, now, I read this rule over and over again. I can't figure it out. What does it mean? And he said, well, the way I interpret it is I'm unpledged. But he said, if you find out different, call me back.
He didn't even know. Well, let me go this way, and if I'm so naive about some of this, the way it appears in your latest blog, with unpledged and orphan delegates, etc., when the convention comes to fruition this summer in Cleveland, where do all these people go? How do they get together? How do they finally come up with a general consensus? I mean, what happens?
Well, you know what? They're sitting all over the convention floor. These are not like sitting in one, you know, there's not a you know how they have the banners up there, and one says Alaska, and another one says Montana, and Idaho, and Maine, and Florida. There's no banner that says unpledged. You know, there's no banner that says orphans sit here. So they're all spread out, and that's part of the reason they're so hard to pin down. And then another thing is that these are actual people. You know, they're not just theoretical. They're not like shopping baskets in the supermarket. These are people, and we don't know for sure how they interpret their own role. You know, they may be reading the rules differently, or they may be unsure, or they may be basically trying to think it through and say, well, maybe this, maybe that, maybe I'm not unpledged all the time. Well, and by the way, another thing confuses matters further is the fact that some have to take their position on the first ballot, and then on the second ballot, some of them become free. And then some of them have to wait till the third ballot to become free and make an independent decision. So
Deanne!
Hello,
Yeah,
sir?
get me on right away.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, we're back on the air, hopefully, with Dr. Lamero. We had a power bump and went off the air. And Dr. Lamero, are you still there? We had a power outage and we lost power for just a few moments.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I'm still here, and I'm still trying to explain the delegate situation.
All right.
And, I was just saying that all the delegates are spread out throughout the convention. There's not like one corner where you have all the unpledged or all the orphaned or whatever.
Right. Now, Dr. Lamero, let me ask you this. I think that Donald Trump has hit on something. Maybe you disagree, but the system of our delegates and who is this and who's unpledged and who's orphaned and what happens over here, who's on first, what's on second, etc., is a totally confusing system. But why has this never been brought up in previous elections like it is now?
Well, I think you have a number of factors. And by the way, the system is probably overly complex. And in this world of social media where everybody knows every little detail and you can look up anything you want on the internet, you know, the little imperfections when you shine a spotlight on a piece of wood or something, you see all the little grain and stuff. People have just never shined a spotlight on this method. In Colorado, for example, people complaining, or Trump's folks complained about the caucus system in Colorado. That started in 1912. It's been going for more than 100 years, with the exception of 10 years where they tried a primary in Colorado and they didn't like it. So they went back to their tried and tested caucus system. So I think that's what you're seeing. You're seeing people, saying, hey, why is this way? Why don't we make it a little more uniform, a little more simple, a little more direct? And you know what? I'd like to bet next year you're going to see all sorts of legislation that's going to smooth out these wrinkles in the system.
Let me ask you an obviously naive question because of my lack of knowledge on this, and you are far, far experienced in this matter. But why can't there be a direct correlation of the sameness for the delegates needed in not only the GOP but also the Democratic Party? Why do we have to look at 1237 on the Republican side and it goes up a much higher number on the Democratic side?
Well, you got to remember, Jeb, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, they're not part of the government. They are, according to the courts, they are private clubs. And, you know, I don't know how many rules and regulations the Kiwanis Club has, or the Rotary Club has, or lots of other clubs, the Stamp Club, you know, or the whatever, the Photography Club. But clubs can make their own rules. It's as simple as that. The Democrats have decided they want a big, giant convention with more delegates. Republicans don't think they need so many.
So
simple as that.
So where we are right now today with all the so-called political experts getting on the television or the radio and saying, well, Trump has this many delegates and he needs this much more and these are uncommitted. Really, they are guessing and wondering really where they're at. Are they not, or did they have a pretty close figure on delegate numbers?
Well, the ones that are allocated for sure, I think people are pretty settled on. There are somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 or 300 of these various other kinds of delegates, unpledged, orphan, pledged to uncommitted, non-aligned delegates. You've got all those, and some of them really are free. And they're trying to, be convinced, the different, I bet you some of these people get phone calls every day from the various campaigns trying to convince them, to go with them. So I think we have a very good idea. Right now, my projection, I do my own little projecting here too. My projection is that Trump is, right now, if he finishes out up until June 7th, the way I've got it on my forecast, he'll have just over 1,200, but not 1,237.
Okay.
So it's really close for him. If he has an upset in his favor, for example, in Indiana, and gets more than a lot of people expect, or if he does a little bit better in California, that may put him over because he's actually getting very close, and he may put it away here in the next few weeks, or he may just make it to the convention 50 short. It's really close. And let me tell you, in California, they have 172 delegates. He was doing well for a while, but when he had those women comments and the picture of Heidi Cruz, that set him back. And he started losing momentum in California. But he's somehow come back, and he's starting to pick up momentum now in California. So these things change every day, so the forecasts are kind of a little bit shaky.
Dr. Lamero, let's go to the convention. We're sitting on the floor in Cleveland. And what happens, like in the process, with the delegates? I think there's 173 that signed on for Marco Rubio. They are considered orphan delegates. When does the committee or the convention look to that respective person and say, what are you going to do with those 173? At that point, what happens? Give us kind of a bird's eye view as to what takes place.
Sure. Well, first, before we even get to the convention, let me tell you that later today, Cruz is making a major announcement. We're guessing that he's going to name his vice presidential nominee. If he happens to name Marco Rubio, those 173 will probably go to Ted Cruz. So let me just give you that heads up that could happen. They're also saying he might pick Carly Fiorina. But anyway, let's get to your question. You get to the floor, Marco Rubio has all these delegates. It depends on the state that the delegates are from. You have to look at each state and the state laws, the Republican bylaws, and then the Republican national rules. So there's three governing factors per state. And so basically, you're going to have some states say, well, Marco Rubio suspended his campaign. Delegate, you're free. And they vote for whoever they please. You have some other states that say, you're supposed to vote for Marco Rubio. You have to stick with it until on their first ballot. You have other people who say, if he releases you the day before, then you're free. So there's all these different scenarios. Did he release them? And by the way, he's asked people to stick with him, and maybe because he wants a VP slot. But sometimes state law says if he suspends, you don't get to pick. You're free.
But can there be a scenario, Dr. Lamero, where a delegate is not ever going to be used or counted? They're just not going to have their vote go towards any candidate.
Well, they can, for example, pledge to the uncommitted. To be uncommitted, they could stay uncommitted for the first ballot, and then their vote will never really count because if there's no second ballot.
Okay. Now, I wanted to ask you also.
that they wouldn't be counted, or they're counted as sort of like, abstained, that kind of thing.
Okay. Now, I wanted to ask you, there's been a lot of rumbling going on that if Trump is not given the nod, if he's close, and all of a sudden there's a lot of mechanics going on at the convention to oust him and put somebody else in, there's been a lot of worry about the ramifications and repercussions about chaos at the convention. What are your thoughts about what might happen?
Well, I don't think it's smart for any candidate to suggest there could be riots. I don't think you should do anything because there are all nuts in the world, I think they should try to, basically maintain peace and order in terms of nonviolence. Now, in terms of chaos, like a little bit of confusion, that could certainly happen. Let's say he gets to 1236. And he'll say, well, I should get it, and the rules are not unless you get 1237, we're going to the second ballot. And the way it works is, as soon as the ballot's over, if somebody doesn't win on the first ballot, the rules, as they currently are written, say you immediately go to a second ballot, and you just keep balloting one after another. You could go until midnight, 2, 3 a.m. in the morning.
How disruptive or how explosive have past conventions been in this regard? Is this going to be the most interesting convention that we've ever had?
Yes, I think so. You remember my book, The Great News for America? I mentioned it's a historic election. We haven't seen anything close to this since 1896. This is big. This is going to be tumultuous. People are going to have their bowl of popcorn sitting there watching it for hours because nobody's going to know exactly what's going to happen unless things shake out ahead of time, which so far they haven't.
And help me, my mind, I'm getting old, but wasn't that the election involving McKinley?
Yes, it was. William McKinley beat William Jennings Bryan. And that was an incredible election, and so similar to this election. People were angry. The voters were upset. They came out in historic numbers. Over 80% of the American people that could vote voted. That was historic. The parties changed as a result of that election. The people were so mad, they basically threw out the old party leaders and got in new leaders and said, we're sick of these economic problems. We're sick of the law and order problems. Doesn't this sound familiar to you, like today? And they changed the country. And that's why one of the reasons I have such great confidence in the American people. Anytime we've had big problems, the American people are smart. They have common sense. They go out to the polls and they say, enough is enough. I want a government that isn't corrupt. I want a government that maintains my freedom. I want a government that follows the Constitution and the rule of law. And I want a good economy. And you know what? They get out and do it every time.
Absolutely.
And we're going to have a great election this year, just as my book details. And I think things are going to get better.
You are the best in your field. And this book, Great News for America, written by Gerard Francis Lamero, Ph.D., excellent. And I recommend it to everybody. Real quick, how are the book sales doing, and where can people find the book?
Well, book sales are doing good. It's not a #1 bestseller, but I hope your listeners will go out and buy one and help me to be #1 bestseller. They can go to Amazon is common, Barnes & Noble's online. If your local bookstore doesn't have it, they can order it. You can go to my website and buy it direct, greatnewsforamerica.com, and you can buy Great News for America and plus my other books. I have several other books, too, they can buy.
Well, I want to tell you how much I appreciate and respect your opinion on my talk show. You are the top of the line. Thank you so much, Dr. Gerard Lamero. Please come back soon, and God bless.
God bless you. You're a wonderful host.
I appreciate that, sir. Thank you so much. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Gerard Lamero and his book, Great News for America. It's uplifting, it's informative, and he is the same, uplifting and informative. And I certainly appreciate him being on the show and just talking about all the delegates. I mean, the unpledged delegates, the orphan delegates, all the different forms, shapes, and sizes ideas of what might be, and the non-aligned delegates, all of this information that we all need prior to election November. Whew, it's confusing, but he laid it all out. Thank you very much. Okay, let's see, what have we got to get here? We got to pay some bills. Don't forget Lennox Home Comfort Systems, and of course they're right there and available through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric, offering rebates on qualified Lennox Home Comfort Systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. All you have to do is call Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459 and find out how Ramsey Heating and Electric can save you money. Excellent, folks. Oh, we're in the middle of political season, and we want to say thank you to everybody that purchased ads here on my program. I really do appreciate it, and there's a lot of really, really outstanding people that are running for the various offices. Thank you very much. One of those folks is Scott Yates, running for the position of Cassia County Sheriff. And he is not part of the establishment, he said, and by golly, he wants to serve and represent all the residents of Cassia County. He has a different equation for equality. Less crimes, less people in jail equals a more productive community. And he believes in Cassia County that it is an exceptional county. Scott Yates wants your vote on May 17th, running for the position of Cassia County Sheriff, paid for by the Yates for County Sheriff, Cassia County Sheriff Committee, Julie Jaime, Treasurer. Okay, next hour we've got another good friend of ours, Dr. John Zamirik, coming on this program. So don't forget about that. And I will remind you that tomorrow on Thursday is another edition of our Second Amendment. And we're talking about our gun rights and gun laws and what the government is trying to do to diminish those. And it's sponsored by Red's Trading Post at 203 Fifth Avenue South in Twin Falls. Ryan Horsley and the crew. Great selection of new firearms from Browning, Beretta, Weatherby, Ruger, Benelli, Smith & Wesson, Winchester, all the ammo, all the accessories, and all the people to serve you with the best of their knowledge. Stop in today. Red's Trading Post, 203 Fifth Avenue South in Twin Falls, and our Second Amendment will be heard tomorrow at 10:32 right here on Zeb at the Ranch. We're going to take a little break. Be right back in about 3 minutes.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KVAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much and welcome back. Wheels, I'm going to have you jump on your microphone real quick. Are we coming through okay, or is it a little fuzzy since we had that power outage?
No, sir. You sound crystal
All right.
clear.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, sir. Wheels running the board over there and doing a good job. You know, I really have had some outstanding guests on the program this morning, and it continues with this gentleman right here. I absolutely hold him in the highest regard for his opinion, and he wrote an outstanding story in the stream called About the Left's Campaign of Terror Against You and I and Decency in America. And I say good morning to Dr. John Zamirik. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program.
Good morning. Thank you.
You know, John, you've been on this program many, many times in the past, but this time and this story, it really hit me about the left, the absolute criminal and villain left in this country, waging a war of terrorism against decency. And I'd like you to explain the reason and why of the piece that you wrote. Go ahead.
Well, sure. Well, I was trying to explain to myself why liberals would do some of the bizarre things we read that they're doing in the media. Excuse me. The most recent incident was an atheist group, I think at the University of North Georgia, had a pro-choice table where they had cookies shaped like human fetuses, so that people could bite their heads off and chew them up while writing pro-choice slogans on little placards that they had.
Oh, my.
What would motivate somebody to do that? Then there was another incident at another college. It was reported by College Reform of an art project that was a crucifix dartboard with the figure of Jesus removed from a cross, pinned to a dartboard, by darts instead of nails and hung up in a public area at the college. What does it accomplish to do gestures like that? Presumably, it seems kind of politically unwise, like it might turn people off. But as I try to show in the article, these are the kind of things that are done by the cultural left to attack our most sacred icons, to humiliate and frighten us, to make us feel marginalized, to make us feel, to turn us into cowards, to make us feel like it's hopeless to resist, that we can't push back, that if we do, we'll be destroyed. And another example I gave was the cruel firing of Kurt Schilling from ESPN for defending what everyone took for granted 6 months ago, that men and women use different bathrooms. For that, his career is destroyed. That was they were making an example of him. They were trying to show people who need their jobs, have to support their families all around the country, don't cross the cultural left, we will destroy you.
You know,
it's an unremitting campaign by, activists all across the country to try to destroy our images, profane our institutions, and intimidate us so that we don't push back against their takeover of the culture a piece at a time. And I talked about a political philosopher who compared this technique to the technique of actual terrorism. The methods are different, but the goals are the same. The goal is to disrupt things, to frighten your opponents, to rally the troops, and to intimidate any resistance.
John, for what net result? What at the end of the tunnel is the light that they're looking for? What do they hope to accomplish? What do they hope to achieve with this complete fragmentation of our society?
Now, that's the interesting part. I think a lot of conservatives get bogged down trying to critique the actual proposals that the left has and showing that they're incompatible. Like some people are showing, wait, this whole transgender thing seems incompatible with feminism because it's taking away women's rights and it's saying that women don't even really exist, that sex doesn't exist. It's just whatever's in your head at the moment. But that's not really the right approach. The left's campaign is primarily destructive. They want to destroy what Karl Marx identifies as the three great enemies of progress and socialism. Those three great enemies were religion, the traditional family, and private property. Those are the three bulwarks against the left having the power to implement its utopian agenda. Now, the leftists don't all agree on the shape of their utopia. They don't have to. They can all agree on what the enemy is. The enemy is the traditional America. It is the family. It is religion. It is your private property. If they can dismantle those three things, they will have almost unlimited power via the government to reshape society, because each of us will be isolated individuals, not gathered together in churches, not gathered together in families, without control over private property. We will be exactly those little atoms, those whirling atoms that social engineers like to manipulate. And it's exactly what the communists did in the Eastern Bloc after World War II. They had full control of the government, so they were able to do it just by naked force. What the left is doing in America is they're using their control over corporate boards. Companies like Target, like PayPal, like Apple are using their power, using their financial clout to threaten lawmakers, to fire people, to shut down debate, and move the agenda in the direction of the radical left.
Now, John, if I were to ask you in kind of a sports scenario, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, or fourth quarter with just a couple of seconds left in the game, where are we? Where have they put us in society today? Are we almost ready to lose the game, or is there a chance for a rebound and try to take it back?
I think we're in the fourth quarter with not that many seconds left on the clock. And if Hillary Clinton wins the next election and appoints 3 or 4 feminist, socialist radicals to the Supreme Court, we will be completely powerless. We will be ruled by what Antonin Scalia warned, with a committee of 5 lawyers with absolute power. and those lawyers will be very left-wing indeed. And that's why I'm very concerned at the prospect that we're going to nominate Donald Trump, who is almost certain to lose against Hillary Clinton. So I see the clock ticking, and I think we're wasting our time on bad players.
Let me ask you this then. I look at myself in the mirror, and I'm sure you look in the morning when you shave. A lot of the blame as to where we are today falls right back at the person that you're looking in the mirror at. And I think the American public had better take stock of where they are, what they stand for, because like you said, this is the 11th hour. And I blame the churches. I blame ministers. I blame the schools. I blame teachers. I blame us because we haven't fought back. Would you agree with that?
I would. I mean, how many sermons have you heard about divorce, about abortion, about pornography? You hear sermons about the environment. You hear sermons about immigrants. You hear sermons about the need for more welfare. My own Catholic church is in many places practically just an arm of the Democratic Party. And that should have changed because of abortion, but in too many places it didn't. And unless we start fighting for our rights, our religious liberty, our family rights, as fervently as Muslims fight for their rights, we're going to lose them. I mean, we see in Norway they just took they took the children away from a family because they said they were too devoutly Christian. We saw that family in Germany that lost their child to a psychiatric hospital because they were homeschooling her. We're just one or two actually. We are only one or two Supreme Court justices away from an end to the Second Amendment, from restrictions on homeschooling, on private schools, from the IRS taking away the tax exemption of any church that won't do same-sex marriages. We're really close to merging with Cuba. So I guess it's appropriate that we're having diplomatic relations with Cuba because we might have much more similar social system much sooner than you think. And this might sound like crazy alarmism, but if somebody had told you in 2007 when George Bush was president that within 9 years you would not be able to speak against same-sex marriage and unisex bathrooms and locker rooms without having your career destroyed, people would have said, oh, take the tinfoil off your head. The CIA is not controlling you with magnets. But you would have been right. Well, let's fast forward. If the rate of attack, if the rate of change, if the rate of radical hijacking of America continues just at the same speed it's been going in the last 8 years, where will we be in 2020? What hope will we have?
I shudder to think. John, let me ask you this. We're talking about what happened at Rutgers University, where they figure of Jesus on a dartboard. Didn't anybody speak out? Didn't anybody complain? Didn't anybody try to take it down? Was there any good there that saw that this was a heinous act?
Well, a number of students complained. It was advertised on social media, and the last I read, the student submitted a complaint to the administration. I haven't heard of any action being taken. But either way, it will work to the benefit of the left, because if it is taken down, the civil liberties and free speech people will raise a screaming stink, saying the religious right is censoring art. On the other hand, if it's left up, the Christians feel intimidated and marginalized because we know no similar insult would be tolerated against Muslims, against Hindus. It might be tolerated, sadly, against Jewish people because the hatred for Israel on campus has gotten so violent that it has gone straight, it's gone straight into traditional anti-Semitism in a lot of colleges. So If you're Jewish or conservative Christian, you are not a protected minority on American campuses. If you're anything else, if you're a Satanist, if you worship the flying spaghetti monster, the administration will stick up for you, but not if you're Jewish or Christian.
You know, in the case of Curt Schilling, a man that I know, and I followed his career being a baseball nut, but speaking out and utilizing the First Amendment like he did on his own personal time, it just goes to prove to everyone that anything you say can be scrutinized by the left, and they will come after you and defeat you. Talk a little bit about his demise from ESPN. Curt Schilling really is a very nice man, but they have ruined him.
Well, I certainly hope that some conservative Christians will step forward and make sure that he gets a comfortable job. I mean, there's no reason that we should let our people be thrown to the wolves. There are enough wealthy conservatives. Think of the $100 million that was wasted on Jeb Bush's primary ads attacking Marco Rubio. Maybe somebody could take some of the money they would have given some futile cause like that and protect people like Curt Schilling from the consequences of left-wing censorship. Remember when they bankrupted those Christian bakers in Oregon, people flooded them with money with private donations. And that should happen every time somebody like Curt Schilling speaks up and is penalized. Otherwise, if you leave your wounded on the battlefield and you don't bother to bring them back and try to take care of them, pretty soon people are going to stop carrying rifles for you.
Absolutely.
Curt Schilling had excuse me, getting a cold. Curt Schilling had a track record of saying mildly conservative things, totally in the mainstream of American politics. All of them were apparently being compiled in some human resources office at ESPN, because when the media wrote up his firing, they said, oh, he has a long track record of extremist statements. But if you read those statements, they're all what any conservative Republican would say. So if they are redefining as radical extremism and as hate speech the beliefs of 30, 40, 50% of the American population.
Absolutely. I would be amiss if I didn't, in the time remaining, have you talk about Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe. I was incensed. I slammed my fist down on the table, almost tipped everything off the computer and everything else when I read about his authority to restore the vote to more than 200,000 felons in his state of Virginia so they can vote Democratic. This sickened me.
That's right, and that's another leftist attack on a key institution. Citizenship is an institution. It's supposed to be something that is earned. Immigrants earn it by coming here legally and learning our Constitution and swearing allegiance to that Constitution. We as citizens earn it by living here, paying our taxes, and not committing a felony. How hard is that? Don't commit a felony. That is the only requirement. Not to be able to cast a vote. Think of what people did for the right to vote. Look at what happened to black Americans when they were fighting for the right to vote. Look how women fought for the right to vote. The right to vote is something sacred. It's impossible to throw it away. If you can't lose the right to vote, no matter what you do, if Charles Manson can vote from prison, if serial killers and rapists can vote, voting is a piece of toilet paper in a Greyhound bus station. And that is what Terry McAuliffe has done to it. That's another leftist attack on a critical institution.
Let me ask you, do you anticipate, John, that we may see, hopefully not, a domino effect with other states picking up where Virginia started?
If he gets away with it. I mean, if the Republicans in Virginia should simply defund the government. They should close down the Virginia government. They should have the nerve to do what Ted Cruz did over Obamacare. We are closing down the government. We're not going to let you get away with this abuse of executive authority. If you don't stand up to abuses of authority like that, like Obama's executive amnesty, you're essentially turning your state or your country into a monarchy where the king can make decrees that go beyond the law, but he knows you will be too afraid to use your constitutional power to punish him for that. That means that's now part of his power. That sets a precedent. That expands the authority of the executive going on into the future. Not to mention the fact that those 200,000 felons might well give Virginia to the Democrats, so he may have just stolen the next presidential election and the next 4 seats on the U.S. Supreme Court.
One final thought here this morning, John. I've got about 2 minutes left. In the next 266 days of Obama still being president, are you afraid or very, very tentative about what this man might pull as he leaves office later in 17?
I think he actually will kick back and relax because I think he's quite confident that Hillary Clinton will crush Donald Trump in 42 or 45 states. So his legacy will be safe. The Republicans nominate Donald Trump. Obama will spend the next few months playing golf because he knows his agenda is in very safe hands.
John, I always enjoy having you on the air. You are the best. You are the very best at what you...
Or just get ready for 4 more years of the same policies implemented maybe more aggressively by that crazy ideologue, Hillary Clinton.
All right, Dr. John Zmirak, always welcome on this program. Thank you so much. Excellent piece in the stream called Fetus Cookies Are Just a Part of the Left's Campaign of Terror. Thank you so much. Come back soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Wow. You know, folks, somebody said to me the other day, well, yeah, but all your topics that you talk about on your program, my goodness, it causes fear and it causes us stress. Well, maybe it should. Maybe they should. Maybe we should all wake up and understand that we're not living in Alice's in Wonderland anymore. We've got a real problem here. Our culture is being thrown in the gutter. Maybe we should create fear for you to consider jumping in and help saving the good. Time for the weather, and the weather is brought to you by Scarrows Meats. Thank you very much for all you do. 331 North Road, Jerome, the number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Your hometown meat cutter, Scarrows Meats. I called Don yesterday, as a matter of fact, and had a nice visit with him. He's always right there to help, always there to serve at Scarrows Meats in Jerome. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It's Wednesday, so that means we're halfway through the work week, and this is what weather is going to be for today. A little bit breezy, but honestly, not too shabby. Cloudy skies, high of 58, tonight low of 39. Tomorrow, partly cloudy skies, winds are picking up just a skosh, looking at a high of 64 with an overnight low of 40. For Friday, mostly sunny skies, winds out of the southwest, right around 20 miles an hour, high of 63 with an overnight low of 40. Then for Saturday, afternoon rain showers, windy and 60. Yesterday's high was 55. The overnight low was 38. That is your weather for Zeb Duran.
Gina, thank you very much. She really puts together a nice comprehensive weather forecast for us every day. Thank you, and it's brought to you by Scarrows Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. Be sure and check it out today. Give them a call, and remember, they are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Thank you very much. I want to also remind you about our major sponsor. I'll tell you about tomorrow's program in just a minute. Don't forget all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh my, the best in tires, many of which are on sale right now. And don't forget, very convenient credit terms for you. A lot of their great custom wheels. Oh, I looked at them yesterday. I started to drool. I said, man, would I like to have those on my pickup truck. Along with great services, best in the business, brake service, batteries, front end alignment, shocks and struts. They've got it all for you at all 7 locations. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and of course, Randy on Overland and Burley. The best of tires and all the other services at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see them today. Caller, I've got about a minute left. Go ahead real quick.
Yeah, Zeb, you know, this last rainstorm, a lot of snow came up in our area, up in Jackson Hole, and this is an opportunity to use a resource and use it wisely. Store it, you know, charge the aquifer, and so you hope that somehow in Idaho that we are going to do this. In Washington and Oregon, the mismanagement of the resources, whether they're water or the grazing,
And one of the things that really has to be brought out is the fact that you have private timber next to public forest, and it all burns the same. It doesn't matter. And these guys that own this private timber land, when they get burnt out, the loss is so astronomical. But see, when you have the Forest Service, the government, dictating what it's worth, you see these men, these ranchers, they suffer, and nobody cares.
That's right.
And you say to yourself, this mismanagement of our resources somehow has to come to an end. And Idaho is standing here as an island. We're surrounded by terrible governors, it seems, and you just wonder if we can hold out.
I agree with you. Randy, I've got to run to the news, but call me tomorrow. We'll talk more about this. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I got to run. Zeb at the Ranch for today. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:06. Don't forget, we'll saddle the horse for 3 hours. United States Senator Crapo will be calling in, along with a lot of other great people. The way things were, the way things ought to be. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Thank you much.